So why aren't my chickens laying is a topic that comes up a lot. So I wanted to talk about reasons why your birds would possibly not be laying. So the first thing I would ask is, how old are your chickens or birds? Because honestly, the first year of their life is their peak production. After that, it really slows down. And after 2 years of age, I mean, they really slow down. I wouldn't expect much out of a bird that's 2 years old. Even though they live a long time, they're not going to be good production birds in general. So that's the first thing you want to look at, and breed would be the second. I have brown leghorns right here and right here. Your leghorns, the white leghorn is going to produce like no other bird. They lay like crazy. So you're going to get a lot more eggs out of a bird like that than you would some of these other breeds. Like my Easter eggers are cute and fun, but they're not really the greatest layers. I love my Turkin hens with the naked necks. I find them to be very good layers. In fact, my buff Turkin hen, she is over 2 years old. She just molted and she's already laying again. She's amazing, a very healthy, unusual bird. But her egg quality isn't the greatest, so I don't sell her eggs. I just keep them myself. Like, the shells are kind of funky and thin, but she still is a good laying bird. And my little black, I think she's a Japanese bantam. She's a little bit older too, over 2 years old, and she still lays really well. I'm very happy with her. So that's one of the first things you want to look at, is have very low expectations out of a bird that's over 2. Lucky if you get very many eggs. And over 3, probably forget it. You might get 1 egg every once in a while, but so that's the first thing. Realize you're not going to get eggs out of an older bird. The next thing is light or stress. They need for optimum laying, they need 16 hours of light. So when the days get shortened, they aren't going to lay as many eggs either. And cool weather, if they're fighting hot or cold, that's considered a stress. They're not going to lay as well. If they're in crowded conditions, that's going to be a stressor. If they're in with aggressive birds that are picking on them, they're going to be stressed. Maybe they can't get to the food. Stressors can also be lots of loud noises. If they're ill, they could have an underlying disease. They can't tell you if they don't feel 100%, if there's something wrong. And you don't really know it until they're to the point where they're acting out, which by then they're really bad off. Poor nutrition. Your birds need access 24/7 just about to feed. Don't think you can feed them once a day and they're going to give you a pile of eggs. And I recommend a good quality feed. Don't buy the cheapest one. Not to pick on any brands here, but so I have a couple birds here that are molting or recovering from molting. The 2 Easter eggers right there. The one is not so obvious, but if you notice, chick, this one has a pale comb and she's kind of scruffy looking, so she's still coming out of molting. So in the fall, when my birds are molting, I go ahead and give them flock raiser feed, which is 20% protein, because they really need that extra protein. It helps them molt faster and be healthier, and so they can get back to laying for me. And same thing, this Easter egger back here is molting. So if you look at her, she looks a little scruffy and a pale comb. She's not going to lay. She's busy making feathers. And sometimes it takes birds that aren't as healthy a lot longer to recover from molting. And sometimes, like my buff Turkin hen, even though she's an old lady, she molted and got right back to business. She's just a very good bird, very healthy. But everybody's different. But nutrition is one of the biggest things, and I have a video already out there about nutrition with younger birds and the difference it makes. I would recommend watching that. Your birds can't give you what they don't have going in, so you really need good feed growing up. In fact, this white EE, she didn't start laying until she was 7 months old. I've never had a bird that late laying. And I think what happened, my neighbors actually brought home some birds and raised them. And even though they had food and water, the chickens would scratch through the shavings in their brooder and fill the thing with the shavings so they couldn't get to the food. So I don't think she had the nutrition she could have fully utilized as a chick, and that's probably partially why. That's my guess, at least. So that's very, very important. So let's see. Broody hens are not going to lay at all. They're very busy brooding. Not going to get an egg out of them. Your birds are only going to lay every 24 to 26 hours. So add in multiple things. I think I deworm my birds. I live in the south where we don't get freezes or anything, so about 4 times a year I find a need to deworm mine. People can argue all day long that they've never had to, but I found a need to. And I notice a difference in production in my birds after I deworm too. So there's videos out there, and I've made a few on products and effectiveness on what and how to deworm your birds. And pests. There's several different kinds of exterior pests your birds can get. Mice, lights. Some live on the bird, some live off the bird. And some of them are very, very small. You almost need an eye loop or a microscope to see them. So just because you don't see some, you need to investigate a little further. Look for eggs would be another telltale sign that you have some kind of mites or lice on your birds. And back to nutrition. 90% of your bird's nutrition should come from a laying type of feed. Then the other 10% they can maybe graze for some nutrition or get treats, healthy treats. Obesity, if your bird is too fat, if you're giving them a bunch of bread, they're not going to lay. I had that issue. I learned the hard way not to give too many treats. I thought, oh, fat and happy? No, it kills them. It kills their liver. Gives them fatty liver disease. Watch your treats. So there's a multiple of things, and if your bird's not laying, it could be just several different little things even. Could just be you just don't have a healthy bird. Some birds just don't thrive. We have this nice shady hideaway for the chickens in our yard, but it's also a great place they can hide their eggs. So that's another thing you might have. I found a dozen eggs in a corner somewhere. I didn't expect. Multiple times I found eggs in the ceiling of my chicken coop. Crazy chickens. I've found eggs in the bottom of the feeder. I have no idea how that happened. So that could be another thing happening, is your chickens have found some crazy place to lay for some reason. And once one egg gets in that spot, then they're all like, oh look, that's a good spot to lay. You want to have one nest box for every 4 hens approximately. And they'll probably lay in the same 2, which is ridiculous, but at least they have a place to go. Some of the lower pecking order hens, if they have to. Oh my gosh, there's a stinking squirrel right there. Look at that pot licker. Yeah, So all the reasons we've talked about could be what's happening to your birds, why you're not getting or finding your eggs. And you could have thieves like squirrels, snakes, rats. So you also want to have nice nest boxes for your birds. They're very important, because if you don't, if your chickens are bored, if they're laying out in the open on the ground or in a cage, they could start egg eating. Mismanagement could cause some bad habits in your birds that are very difficult to break. So I hope that helps you figure out why you aren't getting eggs.